Hello, this is Dr. Vicki. Today I'm going to take just a few minutes and I'm going to walk through how to create a React application in AWS and to host it on the AWS server. We're going to create a React application with Amplify. Now, AWS Amplify is simply a tool that has been developed by AWS Amazon Web Services to make application development easier. It includes a ton of features which allows us to quickly and easily work with other AWS services. What this means to us is we can spend more time building the features that make our applications unique. My entire tutorial will be a series of 4 parts: creating our app with login, adding a database and working with data, adding file storage, and using those files, which will then allow users to upload their own files and data. Part 1 of this tutorial, though, is creating our app with a login. So that's what we're going to be doing today. So are you ready? Let's go. What you're looking at is my split screen, which I have my Visual Studio Code and my terminal. Those are the things that we're going to need. We'll be setting up our new React app with AWS Amplify and add sign up, log in, and log out. So what we need to do is we have to create a new React app. We'll open the terminal and we're going to put npm we're going to create our React app. Okay, it is creating. Now we'll have to do this every time we're creating a brand new React app. So that's what we're going to do. Now, what are we going to do? We have to cd, change directory, and get into the app that we just created. Now, as you can see, we're in the Amplify React app. Make sure that you're in that application because everything else depends on being in the correct folder. All right. Now, with that set up, we can now install Amplify and configure it. So we're going to install Amplify with the npm install at AWS Amplify CLI, command line interface. Now it's installing for us. And that'll take just a few moments. Once that's done, we'll configure our application. Boom, we are successful. As you see right here, we have successfully installed the Amplify command line interface. Right here in green, there's just some resources for you. If you want to jot those down when you're doing this, that would be great. It gives you a whole lot of more information on different things that you could use React and Amplify for. But what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and jump right in to configure our Amplify. So we're going to Amplify, configure. Now, when we do this, it's going to open up our AWS console tab in our browser. Now we have to make sure that we're in the correct place when we get into our console. So what you want to do is make sure if you're not already signed in to your AWS console, this is where your screen should open to. Now, make sure that you're signing in on the root user because you're going to be the account owner and you're going to perform tasks requiring unrestricted admin access. So again, make sure you're in the root user, use your email address that you use to sign up for an AWS account and hit next. Then you will put your password in. And you will sign in. So we're signed in to our AWS account. That's great. We're going to go back now to our terminal. And what are we going to do? We're going to go back to the terminal. We're down here. We're going to press enter. Now you're going to select your region. We're in the US East 1. You're going to specify a username. Just create one. I'm going to create mine Amplify Vicki D. It's just Amplify in my name just for purposes of this tutorial. You can name it anything you want, keeping in mind that we're going to assign a user key and things here in a moment attached to this name. So we're going to username. This will take us back to the browser. And as you can see, under username, the username I created, Amplify Vicki D, is right there. We want the programmatic access, so we do not have to do anything with that. So we're going to hit permissions. It's going to default to administrator access, as you can see. We don't want to change anything. We're going to hit next. We're going to add tags if you want to add a tag to it. We're not going to do that. We're just going to hit next. Now, we're going to review quickly to see if it's what we want. The username, programmatic access, manage policy, administrator access. Everything is right. We're going to hit create user. Now, success. We have successfully created the user. And we have the username here, the access key, and the secret access key right there. So what we want to do is we want to copy this access key right here. And when we go back to the terminal, press enter to continue. As you can see right here, it says enter the access key. We're going to enter the access key we just copied. Now it says enter the secret access key. We're going to go back. We're going to show the secret access key. We're going to copy it. We're going to go back to our terminal and we're going to put the secret access key in. And this would create and update the AWS profile in your local machine. Okay. I'm just going to put Vicki Amplify. You don't have to. It'll just default to it. Just name it something. Now, we have successfully set up the new user. So far, so good. All right. Once we're done with that, we have to make sure that we're connected the profile to the server. Okay. Now let's see what we're going to do. Now we have to initialize Amplify. We have to initialize the Amplify service. So what we're going to do is we're going to type in Amplify init. And we're initializing. As you can see, do you want to use an existing environment? Yes. Choose the environment you would like to use. A development environment, it defaults to that. Yes. Choose the environment you would like to use. Yes, we did that using the default provider. We did that. As you can see now, we initialized the environment successfully. Our project has been successfully initialized and connected to the cloud. Yay! It's going to recommend some steps, which is good if you're doing this by yourself, but let's walk through a couple. All right, we've initialized our Amplify, but now what we have to do is add authentication to the app. What does that mean? We're going to add authentication so that all of the users that would use our app have to create a login and password and have to use that to authenticate access to our app at any time. So what we do with that is amplify, add AUTH. What we're doing is adding authentication to Amplify. Now, auth has already been added to this project. Amplify push. We're creating our files. Successfully pulled the environment from the cloud. No changes were detected. We can see all of the, okay, we've got all of that in. Now our files have been created on our local machine. So now we have to create the React app. We have to start by installing the packages we need. So npm install, save, AWS Amplify at AWS Amplify UI user interface, React. We're installing the packages we need. After we get those installed, we'll continue on. All right, two packages have been installed, no vulnerabilities. All right, now we have to start editing the code of our app. So we have to go into our source code file, src, in app.js. So we'll have to go get that file. Now we're going to go find, there's our folder with Amplify React app. I'm going to open that up. We're going to go into our src, our source code, and we're going to find our app.js file, which is right here. So I'm going to open that, and as you can see, the app.js file is now open in my Visual Studio Code. Now what are we going to do? We're going to remove everything in the headers. Everything in the header. So where is the header? We have the header here, right? And right here. Trying to just highlight it for you. So we're going to remove everything that's already in the header, and we're going to change it. So the class name is still going to be our app header. Amplify sign out, that's what we want to have. Your heading 2 is going to be my app content, and then the closing tag. So again, make sure your header looks like that. The header, class name, app header, Amplify sign out, my app content, and then the closing tags for header. All right. Now, what does that mean? This is a very basic setup, but you could put the main content of your entire site here, and then put the main content of everything else in here, and then put the Amplify Sign Out button wherever you want it to be. But this is where it's going to be right now, just for this basic setup. We also need to add some extra imports to the top of this file. We have some imports already right here for you. These are self-populated by React and Amplify. That's one of the top advantages of using AWS and Amplify, because some of this is already done for you. As you can see, we're importing the sign out and authenticator. We already have those things there. So we're going to add, make sure that we have import Amplify from AWS Amplify. Yes, we have that. We need to make sure that we have this AS config. Make sure you have that. If you don't have that, pause the video. Make sure you get that on your imports. And then make sure that you have this import right here. So you can pause the video so you can see these, and make sure that you have every one of these in the import. And once you get those and come back, make sure you have the Amplify configure, AWS config. And you can pause the video and come back to that. Now, what we need to do is to make sure that we're going to export the app the correct way. So we need to make sure that we're going to export it with Authenticator. Okay? When the app.js file is initially made, it could say just export default. So we want it to be export default with Authenticator app. So make sure that's there, and you can pause this and make sure you have all of your code correct. And then we go back to our iTerminal, and we're going to type npm start. When we do that, we should get a login screen. May take a moment to load. As you can see, it's starting the development server. You can see that up here at the top. May take a moment. You're going to see it open on localhost 3000. Right now, that is absolutely correct. That's what AWS service has assigned it. Now, this is what it will open up to. This is not for you to sign into your Amazon account. And let me say that again. This is not for us to sign into our account. This is for your users that are using your application. Okay, so what does that mean? If your users have already created an account, then they'll use their username and password. But they haven't yet. It's a brand new, right? So if we click right here on create an account, this is where users will create an account, and they have to create it with their email. So I'm going to use my email, and I'm going to create a password. And then you put your email again. Put your phone number. So the username is email because that's how we set it up. The password, the email address again, and the phone number. And they're going to create an account. Boom. We have confirmed sign up. Whatever email address that your users, or you in this particular case, have selected is going to come to that email. And then you have to go to the email and get the code. So my code on this particular time was 272122. When I confirm it, boom, you have just created a React app and hosted it on Amazon Web Services using Amplify. It's time to celebrate. You have worked all the way through. Now, if you hit sign out, they're signed out. Let's see if we can get back in using the username and password that we created. Just making sure that everything works correctly. We wouldn't want our users to not be able to get into our application. Boom, we're back in it. We have reached success. I hope that this answered any questions and you have been able to work from start to finish. You've created a React app and you've hosted it on AWS. Now all that's left for you to do is to go ahead and push it up to your GitHub account so that you can make sure any changes you make to the code and you push to GitHub are automatically deployed. This is Dr. Vicki. Let's create something.